Okay, picture this. You go completely cold turkey from your phone. No DMs, no TikTok, no endless scrolling. For a group of teens who grew up with a phone in their hand, this wasn't just some fun challenge. It was like landing on another planet. And what they found when they unplugged? Well, it was pretty shocking, for themselves and for each other. So let's just dive right in with the one question that started this whole thing. In a world where we're more connected than ever, could our phones actually be making us feel more alone? That's exactly what a group of teenagers set out to discover for themselves. For pretty much all of these kids, this was their reality. The day didn't start with stretching or looking out the window. Nope, the second the alarm went off, the very first thing they did was grab their phone. Their fingers were scrolling before their brains were even fully awake. It was just an automatic reflex.
And then there's this scene. I mean, we've all seen it, right? You're at the dinner table, supposed to be having family time, but everyone's really in their own little world, just staring down at that glowing screen. They're together, but not really together.
It wasn't just at home either. It followed them into the classroom. You're supposed to be focused on the lesson, but the pull of that device in your pocket is just constant. It's a nonstop cycle of distraction that turns every single spare moment into screen time.
And here's the number that just stops you in your tracks. Before this experiment, the average screen time for these teens was 9 hours a day. Let that sink in. That's more time than they were spending asleep. And look, this isn't just a bad habit. We're talking about brain chemistry here. The constant noise, the little dopamine hits from every like and notification, it was just fueling this growing anxiety and a serious fear of missing out. So, they did it. They pulled the plug. They swapped their brand new smartphones for old-school flip phones. But honestly, nothing could have prepared them for that initial jolt of being completely, totally disconnected.
And that feeling? It's a real thing. It's called digital withdrawal. This is so important because it proves they weren't just being dramatic. It was a genuine physical response. Their brains, so used to constant stimulation, were basically screaming, "Hey, where did everything go?"
This quote right here just gets straight to the point. When you take away the endless feed and the constant pings, what are you left with? Silence. And for them, at first, that empty space was terrifying. They had literally forgotten how to just sit and be with their own thoughts.
And get this, it was physical too. We're talking pure muscle memory. Their bodies were so used to the motion of scrolling that their thumbs would just start twitching, searching for a screen that wasn't even there. That's how deeply these habits get wired into us.
But here's where the story takes a turn. Because after that really rough initial shock wore off, something amazing started to happen. They started looking up and rediscovering a world they didn't even know they were missing.
And this is the core of what they discovered. There's a massive difference between online socializing and real offline connection. Online is so much about performance, right? Curating the perfect post for likes. But offline, that's where the real stuff is. Actual conversations, doing things together, and letting yourself be vulnerable and, unedited. And this is the perfect example of that shift. Just the simple act of looking your friend in the eye when they talk, it changed everything. It went from just sending funny pictures back and forth to having a deep, meaningful conversation. For them, it was a total revelation. This whole journey led them somewhere even deeper. It turned inward. Because when you take away that constant feedback loop of likes and comments, you have to face a really big question about who you are.
And this is the question that really hit them hard. Who am I without my feed? I mean, seriously, think about that. If so much of how you see yourself is tied to how others see you online, who are you when you log off? When nobody's watching?
And you know what? They started to find out. With all this newfound time and mental space, old hobbies started coming back. They were painting again, playing guitar. They started to build a sense of self-worth that came from inside, not from a screen. And man, what a relief. The exhausting pressure to perform 24/7 was just gone.
This insight is just so powerful. They learned to accept their real, messy, authentic selves instead of trying to live up to some impossibly perfect highlights reel. And that self-acceptance, it was the most freeing discovery of the entire experiment.
So the experiment did eventually end, but its impact was here to stay. Look, the goal was never to get rid of technology forever. It was about building a new relationship with it, a healthier one, a more intentional one.
And they came away with some real practical strategies that, honestly, all of us could use. Things like setting screen-free zones, like no phones at the dinner table. Actively curating your feed to get rid of accounts that make you feel bad. Making it a point to prioritize actual in-person plans. And the big one, turning off all those notifications that are literally designed to pull you back in.
And this quote just sums it all up perfectly. This whole thing isn't about being anti-technology. It's about being pro-human. It's about taking back the controls and shifting from being a passive consumer to being the one who decides how, when, and why use these incredibly powerful tools.
So, I guess that just leaves us with one final question to think about. If you carved out just a little bit of that silence, if you decided to pull the plug even for just a little while, what would you discover?